Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Francais Owner. We're here with another episode of VSW Podcast. We have a very, very special guest, Jacques Francais, the crazy Canadian. He's here. He's with us. And I'm so happy to have him on. I really am. Sorry, I'm horrible with names. I just really am all the time. But I'll tell you what. I do remember the name Crazy Canadian. So that works.
Sounds good.
So tell me, how are you doing today?
It's hot, so you hear the noise in the background. It's my AC going. So
Yes, it is. It is a brutal heat wave. We've had it all week up here. I take it you're up north.
yeah,
So, but I do hear that there's some rain coming our way eventually.
hopefully it cools off a bit. It cools things off a bit. So
Sometimes the rain comes in and it brings more heat, and that's when it's really bad. It's like, wait a minute, it's like raining hot water. It's like, this isn't good.
yeah, right.
So you've been in the wrestling scene for quite a while now.
Going on 13 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's no small feat. I feel a lot of people, they get in, they find it's not for them, or they get out. But you've been in it for a while. Where'd you start training at to break in?
I just got lucky. Really, I had some friends that were already in the business, and I would just show up, help set up, tear down the ring. Get in the ring, take some bumps, just run in the ring. Show me, the guys would give me a few pointers here and there. I mean, I don't like tooting my own horn, but I was a quick learner, so it came to me naturally. But my first official match was a squash match. I think I got taken down in like 2 minutes by a guy that was over 400 pounds. So.
Yeah, but like everybody got to start somewhere. But I mean that's interesting because you hear some people, they go to school, they do this, but you also you don't really hear about people that kind of, like I say, kind of learned on the road or kind of learned as they went. Like I'm sure as you started training, you didn't know everything, but like you said, you're working on the ring crew, they're showing you things in between. You have friends showing you stuff. All of a sudden, it starts to fit together, and it worked.
Yep.
At some point,
Yep.
you would deem, what, this dude can be out here to wrestle. He's going to fight. He might not win right now, but he's going out there. And there you were, on the scene. Is this something that you always wanted to do? You, like, as a child, was it your dream?
Absolutely. I was a fan, ever since I was a kid. I remember my dad flipping through channels. The TBS Superstation was on. World Championship Wrestling with the Jake Crockett Promotions, and I was hooked. I told my dad to leave it on that station, and I remember the first match watching was the Steiner brothers and the tag team of Doom, which was Ron Simmons and Butch Reed.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was hooked ever since. I've been a fan. I'm still a fan today, but yeah. I kind of started off late in my career. I was 30 when I started. I went to the military, went to college, started a family. So I didn't get into the ring until later on in life. But I'm glad I'm in it. I mean, I enjoy it, and I hope to continue as long as I can.
Yeah, and I feel like today the age really doesn't matter as much as it used to, because people are doing amazing things at almost any age. It depends, how good are you in shape? How is your cardio? Are you still training? Are you still learning? How over are you? Can you still work the crowd? You got people like even on the mainstream that were just, very little in ring, but were able to just captivate the crowd. Like Undertaker, he didn't have to do a lot of wrestling, but he could get everybody's attention. And so the career, goes a little bit longer than before because now, you have other things you can kind of do. But yeah, I've seen that as a trend. It's no more like, you sure you got the people that have just jumped in, but a lot of people start, they live their life, they find out, 25, 26, I think I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I'm going to join the school. I have my first match at 30. They give themselves 10 years, and then 30 years pass, and, they're still in it because there is people on the scene still wrestling 60s, 70s,
Yep.
but it's something I said, if you can keep up with it and keep in shape, then why not? Um,
Right.
and I think at some point we all start off as fans, and when I was young, I too got hooked into TV wrestling. I saw people like King Kong Bundy and Hogan, and then I saw other guys like the Macho Man, and I didn't get much access to TBS being here. I don't know, for some reason we just didn't. It was always WWE until later on, and then I started to kind of flip around. But those early characters just grabbed me, and I too became stuck. I tried to get into it. I was a little small at the time that I went in to be a wrestler. There was no market for a little man. So they were just like, there's not, I can't train you to be a wrestler. There's nothing you're gonna really do. And so I walked away. I went into boxing a little bit. I'm amateur, which was a lot of fun. But I always had wrestling in the back of my head of something that I wanted to do. I just didn't know how I was going to get involved. What am I going to do? And then podcasting came. With the pandemic and everything, there was a lot of time to put
Mm,
ideas together and be able to kind of do things. And one of the major pushes was I wanted to get eyes and ears on that independent scene because that's where I feel like it all is at. TV wrestling is great
yep.
and it's great to idolize those guys, but at some point they all start in a small little VFW hall somewhere in America,
Yep. Yep.
wrestling in front of
Absolutely.
50 people. Um,
Yeah.
you're up north. You've seen some of the greatest of it. You've seen MJF running through Limitless. And now he's on AEW television. We've seen
Yep.
people like Anthony Green coming and going. We've seen Carmelo Hayes coming and going. We've
Yep.
seen so many people pass through here, but again, it all starts on that little level, that those small shows, and you build.
Sure.
And
Sure.
that's what I find the interesting part of it. Because that's where you can really see the growth too. I like to see that progression because you start to
Yep.
follow people for years. I'm sure there's people that remember you when you first broke in, and now are seeing you now, going, "Well, damn, he's doing good things."
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Um, so you broke in, you started your first match, and then what promotion were you working for? A promotion or just kind of just here and there?
I actually started on the down east in the coast, Global Independent Wrestling. That's where I got in. Just start off, like I said, as a jobber. If they had spots for me, I worked it, but that was mostly like setting up, tearing down, helping out, whatever I could do. And then the more I was able to attend seminars and get more in ring work and stuff like that, was able to expand. Um, and then actually was able to start my own company back in 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, the Crown of Maine Wrestling. We're up in Rooster County, up north in Maine. So
Yep, I think I
going on
remember
6 years.
seeing. I got heavily into the indie scene around 2017. I think I remember seeing stuff for that those promotions and shows. At the
Yeah,
time, though, for me, traveling 2 hours for wrestling seemed insanity. Now it's like anything over 8 hours is insanity. The limits have been lifted. They've
yeah.
dragged me to the tip of Maine where I can look over and see Canada on the other side, and I'm going to a show. I'm like, okay, any more further, I need a passport. um,
That's where I'm literally at. It was like I where I live right now. I think I'm maybe like 12 minutes away from the border. So
yeah, but I mean, but that's awesome because I don't know. There's not a lot of stuff out there happening. It's not
right,
congested for wrestling.
absolutely, and that's why I think is my company's working the way it is. It's 6 years now, and we have our steady people that come in every show, but we getting new people coming in, checking out the show, and they enjoy it. I've heard nothing but good things about them enjoying the show. So um, I try to when we promote it, and I just try to give the best wrestling product. The number one thing, it's for the fans. I hope they enjoy it. That's all. It's all for them. And once I get that, when I hear the applause and the screams and the cheers and the pats on the back saying you did a good job, it feels pretty good.
And I think that's deep down it's what it's all about, especially when you become that fan and you want to see people in the audience feel how you felt when you went to your first show, or that excitement that you used to get as a kid, and you want others to experience that. When you can pull it up, it's like, yes, I did it. And there's no
Absolutely.
monetary value to that kind of feeling. There really isn't. Money doesn't even exist in that era because once you get a fan of wrestling, they're a fan for life if they really like that show. If they had a good time, it's always
Yeah.
going to be in their head. I can tell you my first indie show I went to in 17, just because it stuck with me, and it just that's what wrestling can do. It's a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful, I say, form of art. You got music out there, you got movies out there, and then you got pro wrestling. It tells a story, but it also gets people outside of themselves. I'm having a really bad day, a really bad week. Well, now I go to this show on Friday or Saturday night, and I don't have to be in this world. I'm in the wrestling world. I'm in with the
Right.
promotion world. I'm out of my
Right.
head. I'm with friends. I'm having a drink or a smoke. I'm chilling. And I don't have to worry about anything. Everybody else is doing the same, and everybody's having a good time.
Hmm.
And it becomes a very good experience.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to check one of those shows out. Maybe plan a weekend to come up. I learned soon that early on that long long show day trips are just not fun because you're driving like 6.5 hours one way, going to the show, and then you're driving 6.5 hours back. And nobody ever wants to stay awake that you drive with. They're always falling asleep or doing something. But I've had my road adventures driving up north and driving the other way too. I went to Jersey a few times for pro wrestling, the showboat, and I did it all in just one day, one drive. And yeah, never again. I'll stay the night. It's a lot, but I
Yeah,
don't mind
it definitely makes for a long day.
and that's the funny thing about Maine, though, is like you can live in Maine and still have to travel 3 hours and still be in Maine. You're
Yep.
just in a different part. It's wild because I always go to like I go to a lot of shows, obviously in Yarmouth and places that are a little bit closer. Um, if I sometimes Portland, because it's only like a 2 hour drive. But if I want to go way
Yeah.
up like to Brewer or way up there, it's 5.5, 6.5. We're talking. So it takes time. It takes a day. It takes travel. But again, I've done it. I don't mind it. I enjoy it. And I like going and seeing different wrestling that way because the crowd is usually different. Sometimes I'll get really psyched and I'll see someone that I know and I'll be like, oh my God, they're traveling just as crazy as I am. But other
Yeah.
times it's a whole new crowd and it's like, cool, they don't know me. I don't know them. We can just mingle and talk and they know this promotion better than I do and I can learn.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun to do that kind of stuff. But they've also made wrestling so that you don't have to travel. Especially here that there's so much wrestling. We're so congested that there's almost something like next door to you every
Hmm.
weekend,
Yep.
which is kind of nice in a way too. But compared to like when you first started, you must have seen it. The indie scene has kind of drastically changed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, within the past couple, I say more than a couple of years, Maine wrestling itself has improved vastly. I mean, we I'm having so much fun because each company that runs in Maine, we have our own little area to put on a show, but we're also with each promoter. I'm working with 3 different promoters right now for those companies, and we like we exchange talent. I rent out my ring to a couple of these promotions. I mean, we work so well together, and it's never been like that before. So to have the camaraderie, the friendship, to support each other, which wherever the show is, in any capacity, it's come a long way. I'm having fun. Everybody is enjoying it, and like I said, in Maine wrestling today, it's as hot as I've ever seen it. So it's really really good.
It really is. It's really taken off. I've talked to a few, former promoters. I talked to Christian Nickerson. He used to run shows out there, and at the time he was running, there was like nothing out there. Now,
Mm,
you got so many brands. Like I said, you got Larry Huntley running shows down there. You got
mhm,
Randy Carver Jr. running shows. You got
mhm,
MPW just started up.
mhm.
Um, you have what's his name, Booker over there running the return of that other promotion. Plus, you got all your other shows that are taking place across the lands, and it's all
Yep.
good wrestling too. It's all
Yep.
high end names, and Maine's lucky. You guys got a lot of like, I would say, famous people that are like live there and enjoy wrestling there. Like you got people like Ace Romero that will go to shows, Dirty
Yep.
Dango that goes and travels
Yep.
around Maine and wrestles. You know, you got
Yep.
all these great people that have been to the bigger side and come back and they're like just as chill as ever. Um,
Yep.
you know, so it's a nice scene. I love the Maine wrestling scene. I always have. It was something that, you know, in 2017 when I got into wrestling, I started, you know, locally, and then I started to get into watching like Beyond Wrestling, and that led me into watching like IWTV wrestling, and then I got into like
Yep.
Limitless, and I said, wow, I got to get up there, got to get up there, and I had
Yep.
tickets, and then pandemic struck, and
Uh,
Northeast, you know, shut the hell down. We didn't have nothing. Um, and you probably being a promoter and a wrestler were just like, double stuck. I can't do nothing.
yep. It was a rough time because by the time before the pandemic happened, like our we were on fire. Like we were getting the crowds. We were having close to 200, 250 people showing up at every event. And then we were having our anniversary show in 2020 in March. And my show would have went right around the time they like shut everything down. So
Yeah.
I had to cancel all the bookings. I had to say, we're closed. There's nothing going on. And I lost all momentum. It was a long 3 years. Um, we started running back in 2022, but it to where we got back to where we are today. It took a lot of effort and a lot of work to get to where we're at again.
And determination, I would have to say determination. I mean, you must have wanted it because there's a lot of people that, you know, we didn't see return from the pandemic, or
Mm-hmm.
some people that, you know, couldn't return. Because not only was it, you know, mentally taxing for people to not be doing this stuff, it became physically taxing. People had to find their alternate sources of income for their weekend work if that's what they were doing. Some people were wrestling full time. They're out. They're shit out of luck.
Yep.
You know, there was a lot of stuff involved, and a lot of people got affected because, you know, it's not just the wrestlers. You got people that, you know, film every week. You got people that photography. You got sound guys. All these companies, all these people that, you know, do something every weekend, ring announcers,
Yeah.
and it's all extra cash. And to lose all that at once, it was very devastating. Not just, you know, as a fan, I was watching it online live with, you know, the people that I do follow and friends with, a lot of wrestlers and personalities, and it's like devastating. You know, they're home doing nothing.
Yep.
You know, WrestleMania weekend, big washout. You know, so many people had plans that year to go out there, and they were stuck at home.
Yep.
Yes, we got a WrestleMania, but you know, it was whatever they could do down in Florida and WWE could pull off, but it had, you know, nowhere near what it was gonna be. And yeah, it
Right.
took a while. I mean, I don't think we started seeing some wrestling back. I remember, I think like Pandemic and the Dojo started running, Beyond started running shows, and Limitless the Road, and like Chaotic did a few shows, and NCW did a few shows. People that had schools and access could start doing shows. So we started to get something pretty cool in 21, which was a weekly platform for indie wrestling. A lot of them did weekly shows with like 3 or 4 matches, and you know,
Right.
and for me, that was really handy because it allowed me to kind of slow down the pace of what was going on in every promotion. Sit there, watch it, talk about it, discuss it, make a show about it, talk to people about it, get, you know, guests, because, you know, people are home. So I'm like, hey, well, let's talk about it, you know, come to my show.
Right.
Um, and it kind of set up all the platforms and everything for me to get going when wrestling would return, and it did. Eventually, it returned, and boy, did it return with fire. I mean, some of those shows that I first went to when wrestling came back, I went to this Beyond show. I mean, the fans were just amazing. Limitless, sold out show. Not even one match had to be announced. People were just there because they wanted to be back. You know,
Yep.
and the crowds were fire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and that's when my channel started to take off. You know, I got lucky with a lot of my reels and shorts and different media forms that I was filming, because I started filming a lot of wrestling. There was a lot of excitement going on when I came back, a lot of good matches, a lot of stuff that I hadn't seen because I hadn't been exposed to it yet. I was, like I said, in my infancy kind of stage of indie wrestling. I hadn't only scratched the surface before the pandemic. And so I was like a kid in a candy shop. I traveled everywhere in 21. I said, I went to Maine, Jersey. I was out to the H2O Center. I was over in Ridgefield Park for shows. I was back up to Maine again, going here, there, every weekend somewhere, two, three shows. It was wild, I'll say. But yeah, thankfully wrestling came back, I have to say, and it came back strong.
Yeah, it did. It really did come back strong. Um, Again, every time I'm out in public, even at my job or just in public in general, I see people coming up to me and say, "Hey, when's your next show? When's your next show?" So people are out there interested. They want to see more wrestling. Um, and I try to do it as often as I can. Like I said, I work full time. I got kids at home. I do the best I can. I do have a great support team that helps me out with it. I got a few board members that help me out behind the scenes. So it's good to have a team. That's pretty much the reason why we've been going great so far. So again,
But no,
people just
that's
want to
on
come out and have
the
fun.
well, yeah, yeah, and I think a good, strong support team is always important because, I mean, let's face it. Some days, you might not be up to task, especially you're saying you got kids. I got kids. I understand. Some days, kids come first. You can't do nothing. Kids sick, kids
Right.
easier. Everything else is just secondary at that point. And so to have something to fall back on, at least it's a little less stress in your head, knowing that this isn't just all crumbling and falling apart because I'm not there right this second. But that's the business end of what you do. But you're also on the scene wrestling. I mean, you're part of a tag
I
team.
am.
You
I
know,
am. Yeah. Like I said, like you mentioned before, I used to do like as a fan, I used to travel long hours. The only time I do long hours now is if I'm booked on a show. So I usually throughout Maine, I'm working for MPW. Um, we also have Let's Wrestle that comes up to Island Falls once in a while. We help out with that. I just did a show down in Amesbury, Mass for UFO Wrestling. I was a
I
part of
like
the
Pat.
triple threat.
That's a good guy.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, he's a really good guy. I really like him. I again for my company, I'm kind of getting to the tail end of my career in CMW just because I want to focus on the promoting and the booking and the back, behind the scenes and stuff. But anywhere I still keep reaching out to other companies, see if they need talent. Willing to have us on board. I have younger talent that I have spread out, how talented they are. I have two young guys, especially, um, are working multiple promotions, are being asked to work multiple promotions. So, I mean, like I said, I love wrestling. I love being in my matches and stuff like that. But again, I'm getting to my tail end, and it's time to get the young stars to show out. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
if I get a call, if I get an email, if I get a text, say, hey, you want to come on the show and wrestle? I'm not gonna say no.
No, no, definitely. And hey, if you ever want some of those younger talents or students or people that are looking for exposure to come on the show, I'm more than welcome to have them on and talk with them and let them tell
Awesome,
their story as well. And
awesome.
that was the main reason of this, to get eyes and ears on that indie. I noticed that a lot of shows were very excellently ran. When I was a kid and went to an indie show, wasn't much of an indie show. You'd go there. I didn't know any of the people. I knew the one ups that they were bringing. I knew like the Honky Tonk Man and stuff that they were dragging in to get me to go to the show. But I didn't know the local talent. They were very unmemorable. Today,
Mhm.
everybody has a place. Everybody has a role, a character. It's the
Right.
same as TV, except it's minus that $1 million budget.
Yeah.
Everybody really puts it out there, especially for the fans. So I always was wondering why some of these shows weren't getting as much hype, and it's just some of them just don't get eyes and ears as much. You can only get so many people in a venue, right?
Yep.
And if you don't get the social media exposure, then it's like, okay, then I got to find other ways to kind of get people to my product.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
next something that I'm very interested in, and I'm a big fan of it, and that is the whole the cooperation, people co-promoting shows or promotions working together, because at the end of the day, nobody in anywhere that I know is contracted to a single company.
Right.
And when you have promotions beefing and you have promotions fighting, the only people that get hurt by that are the fans because they don't know which show to go to.
Yep.
You start booking shows to counter book against another promotion, and fans are like, "Well, I like this guy on that show, but I also like this match on that show," and it makes them choose. And it's like, dude, nobody is, no one's trying to get the one up. There's nobody dominating a scene. No one. There's no need to try to close a wrestling company. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Yep.
1999 where someone needs to, shut the doors to another company so they can succeed. There's plenty of fans out there for every promotion to succeed.
Right. Yep.
And I love hearing to see that, promotions working together. We see it sometimes in Worcester every year. Festival comes around, they bring all these promotions in, and they all, go inside. And MPW has done a great job reaching out to other promotions and getting tag teams and getting people, even some people from my area, bringing them up from New England.
Yep.
And I love seeing that. I love seeing that collaboration work because, again, I'm a fan of wrestling and I'm also a fan of the wrestlers. So seeing them in different places is better for me. That's, it's more accessible. And again, it gives them more work too. You know,
It's a win-win situation for everybody. Like I said, we work amongst each other to, pick a certain weekend where the shows aren't going on, so we don't take away from them. And we had that mutual respect for each other. If Limitless is running one weekend, we try to do another weekend. If MPW is working a different weekend, we try to, we're all helping each other out. We want them to get the fans. We want the revenue to come in. We're helping each other succeed.
yeah, no, definitely. I love seeing that because I do see it. I see it online, and I've talked to some of the people. Talked to the MPW Hardcore Champion, a few times. He's come on my show. The lovely ring announcers come on my show a few times to talk, and they'll tell me about, who's coming in from where. And in some cases, even in Crossman, you're seeing titles being defended at other shows and other shows allowing their titles to be defended. Less Wrestle will sometimes let their title get defended elsewhere. And they're another great, kind of promotion out that goes a little bit deeper into Maine because they get a lot of students. The dojo's a great school out there.
Yep.
And a lot of people that are making a good foundation for their wrestling career coming out of there, I feel, right at this point.
Absolutely.
And of course, there's other schools in Maine, and like there's other schools in New England. There's a lot of schools right now, but I see a lot of good people out there. I know a lot of the trainers personally. I've talked to them, and there are a lot of good people out there. So you're getting that good foundation of what to do and what not to do. And sometimes the
Absolutely.
knowing what not to do is more important, because there's rookie mistakes. But if you have a vet or somebody to tell you, hey, you don't need to make these rookie mistakes, then
Yep.
that's helpful. That's helpful.
Yep. No, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the future is bright because I see a lot of these young talents, and I use some of the guys from the dojo, and I use them pretty much almost every show now. Um, they're a bunch of great athletes, a bunch of great guys. I get along with them really well, and I've worked some of them, so it's nice to be familiar with younger talent and just plain talent, working with them in and out of the ring, and making it a great experience for everybody around.
And then, like I said, you still can and you still do put in the work. You're part of Hyper Poutine. You're part of a tag team right now. You're running through MPW.
Yeah. I got a quick thing that I want to point out. I just did a promo, and if you want me to get into character, I'm exactly what I'm going to do right now. This
Yeah, let's go.
little tiff between me and Aiden Andrews, the owner of MPW. He thinks that he can stick his nose in my business. Now that my partner is injured, he suffered a knee injury after the match, so he's going to be out of action for a few months. Hopefully not too long, but I was kind of upset about that because we did win the MPW Tag Team Championships, and it was taken away from us. So I have a little beef with him. I let him know on my promo that I'm coming for him. So next Friday, June 28th, MPW in Fairfield, Maine. Aiden better watch what he does, says, or um, um, just be careful because I'm not taking it lightly. We were the tag team champions. He took it from us. He stole it from us. My partner's injured now, so my whole focus is taking him out.
And that's an unfortunate situation. Unfortunately, injuries do occur in the ring, and it's like speedy recovery to that, really. But no
Yeah.
reason to take your gold away. You put in
No,
the work for
I
it.
don't
You
know.
want it.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't know if he's jealous because we're such a success and he just wants the spotlight for himself. But I'm sure he's going to see this, and I'm sure that he's going to have some kind of excuse that, oh, your foot was under the rope, or his foot was on the rope, or just he took advantage of the situation, and I'm gonna make sure I take care of business, and he'll find out really soon next Friday. So,
It could just be as simple as like my wife and just likes their French fries plain.
see, that's what I'm saying. The best way to have fries is a poutine. I'm telling you,
It is.
cheese and gravy make it.
It was the first thing when I got to Toronto that I ordered when I went to Canada. I went to Toronto. First thing I got at the hotel was the poutine, and I had it
Mm-hmm.
every night. It's probably the only thing I ate there, actually.
Good
But
stuff.
yeah, it changes the way you eat French fries. The ketchup just becomes irrelevant now. That's silly.
Oh, absolutely. And I
Everything
see and
else
I
is just
see people eat it with ketchup.
It's unsophisticated now.
Absolutely.
Now it's a
I-
meal. You put some gravy, you put some cheese curd on. It's a full meal. You're not hungry after. It's not a fast food item from McDonald's. It's a gourmet meal.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
think
No, like
a
I
lot of
said,
people don't understand that. Though you got to understand, good, culinary etiquette and what food really is. But that's a topic for another day. But that could be the guy's issue. Maybe he just likes his French fries with just ketchup.
it could be. I mean, you never know. He might have a bug up as you know what. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him.
But I have, like I said, I've talked to some of those MVW guys, and I have to say, great promotion. I've been trying to get out there for some reason or another. Every show I've had something pop up, and the last one was just a double event. There was another show I had, but besides before that, it was like wife's mother's birthday. This happened. This one got sick. It's like I'm hoping this next one I can get up there because there's been so many great matches. And I know a lot of the roster. I've seen them. Like I said, they're bringing Maine people from all over Maine, and then you're bringing some of the great people from Mass and Rhode
Yep.
Island and all.
Yep.
It's a great mix, and I think
And
that's
like I
what
said,
we're seeing it all over Maine, though. These great mixes.
oh, absolutely. And it's not just Maine. I think, to be honest, in my opinion, I think New England independent wrestling is top notch. I think it's better than any other region in the United States. I think it's got one of the biggest and best independent circuit in the region. I mean, New
Now, what do
England.
you think makes that though? Because you're not the first person to say it, and I agree with it. We have a very strong base. You just have a lot of people coming out, and you have a lot of fighters. But it's been that way probably since Killer Kowalski was up here. But what do you think today really makes that different than some of the other regions in the world?
To be honest, I think it has to do a lot with promoting, getting the name out there, not just as a talent or the promotion itself. I mean, we're putting a show on, but a lot of the guys that are used in all these promotions in New England have worked pretty much every single promotion in New England, so they know the ins and outs. They've worked together before, trained together before. I mean, it's fluid. I mean, it's so fluid. I think that the the scene itself in New England, because and I'm not going to go into WWE, the headquarters is
Yeah.
in Connecticut. No, I'm
No,
not going to
no,
go there.
no.
I mean, it's
If you look at the underbelly of all that and what we have on the indie scene, you're right. The chemistry is always almost fluid because you do have people working 3-4 shows a week, and they end up
yeah,
working each other 3-4 times in a month, and they do train at different schools for one-ups or here and there,
yeah,
and they end up training with everybody. Everybody ends up knowing everybody. So when you hop in the ring, it's like, yeah, we worked together 10 years ago. Let's do it
yep,
again.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and a lot of people come and they stay for it. They're not here just for the quick buck. They're here because of the love.
Right.
So they're there 10 years later to have that match.
Hmm. No,
and you
it's a
start to
good.
build rivalries, you start to build friendships, you start to see all that unfold over the years. You're right about that, and I think
Yep.
granted, there's good wrestling in a lot of the country, but New England has something definitely special about it, and it does. It produces stars.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I agree with you. I mean, look at the main rosters in the AEW, WWE, even the smaller promotions that are still big names like TNA, MLW, Major League Wrestling. I've been watching on YouTube religiously. I mean, bringing talent like Brett Ryan Gosling, he's on in MLW. You have Richard Holiday, he's a Connecticut native. I mean, he's in MLW. I mean, not just MLW, TNA. I mean, just getting the talent, and you see a lot of it today. That a lot of the talent's coming from the New England states.
And 5 or 6 years ago, I was watching them wrestling in Worcester, and before that, they
Yep.
were wrestling over there, and it's great to see. Big is a great success story. Someone that I watch, grow from people calling him, Justin Bieber in the halls and booing him to becoming world champion. Now he's, fighting for the world title in limitless wrestling.
Absolutely, it's
Um,
awesome. I love it.
you got people like Becca, who, pre-pandemic was unknown and just blew up, put in the work, and became a pop superstar. You have people like AG. He's been everywhere, and
Yes,
then going to Japan.
yes,
You even have like hard workers like, like Perry Von Vicious and Rip Bison that
yes,
intended going to
yes.
Japan. And we get that in New England. We get a lot of people traveling abroad, doing abroad, and then coming back and teaching, which is great because now these people are learning. And I feel like New England has a lot of open ears, so the people are susceptible to learning, and learning new styles, and not being so just stuck in the ways. They want to evolve a lot,
Yep.
and get
Yep.
better. Where maybe
Oh,
20
yeah.
years ago, people were just happy to be over, and if they could get over the same way every time, they would just stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, people want to evolve. They want to one up themselves, not even so much somebody else themselves. They want to do better than they did last month.
Yep. Mentality is totally different, and I think it's a positive thing.
It is. It's never been more an exciting time to be a fan, a podcaster, a wrestling promoter, whatever it is you do in the industry or part of the industry. Right now is just the perfect time. It's another like Renaissance era of it.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I really am excited to see what unfolds because like I said, Maine's exploded, Masses keeps going, New England's going, and more new talents starting to arrive, and they're getting into the ring. We're seeing new debuts all the time, and it's like I said, it's very
Yep.
exciting. Who's going to be the next breakout star? Who's going to be the next John Cena? Who's going to be the next one? Because you never
Right.
know. It could be that easy coming out of
Right.
New England.
Yep. Exactly, and that's what I look forward to the most because I talk to Randy Carver, and I talk to Neil, who's the owner of MPW. I talk to all these guys who are promoters, and especially with Randy, I was like, who is it going to be next? And he'll say, well, I got my inkling it's going to be this guy or this girl or anything like that. And sure enough, months down the road, you see this person on AEW or
Yeah, he's
it's like,
pretty good at
wow.
that. I'll ask him, I'll be like, "Who do you
Yeah.
think?" And they're like, "Hey, whoever you think's next. You don't even have to tell me if you think it or know anything. Just send me, my way to the podcast." And he sent me some pretty good names, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, there they are. They're off. They're
Yeah.
off to the races.
Yeah.
But he's one of those people in wrestling that is generally there to help everybody. I feel like
Oh,
he's not
absolutely.
there to
Yes.
take people down. And when I see him succeed, it makes me proud to be a wrestling fan. And I can say that for a lot of promotions that I watch. When I see
Yep.
them succeed, it makes me proud to be a fan of pro wrestling because they've all gone to great lengths, great heights to bring things to fans that have never been done before. I mean, now you're
Yeah.
getting main wrestling in the Coliseum. That's insanity to me.
I know.
To think of that, just to think of that, you're getting such a venue for an independent show that 7 years ago had so many people watching and now is becoming this big. And it affects everybody because people are going to go there, and like you said, you take limitless people, you take these guys, everybody goes everywhere. So how people do in one performance and become over it, that helps the whole scene because now you start getting these names that have made presence in other places. And you never know who's going to be your next person that just passed through your door that's going to be on TV next. That gets that phone call. Hey, we saw you in such and such show, and
Right.
we want you.
Yep. Yep. Nope. Yeah, absolutely. I said as soon as I saw the announcement that he's doing the Coliseum in Auburn, I was like Lewiston, Auburn. What? I was super psyched for him. I messaged him and I was like, "Good luck. I hope you have a great turnout because if it's a great turnout, it can only mean bigger and better things. I mean, he's doing such a great job."
Yeah, and it will kind of gauge, hey, look how many fans of wrestling really are in Maine. And you know, because I think sometimes, you know, yes, mass is nice and it's notable for wrestling, but so isn't Maine. Maine gets kind of a little bit lost in the shuffle because it's so wide, it's so big. You know, I was told to people, you know, you have shows, but like they're 4 hours apart,
Right.
space wise.
Yep.
You know, here you got, you know, two towns running shows, you know, next town over. Um, so people kind of forget about that unless you live out there. If you live out there, then obviously you know about the wrestling because you see your local posters and flyers and all that work.
Yep.
But not being from there, you got to kind of look and say plan things. But again, the more these shows happen, the bigger they get, the more, you know, like I said, people are going to want wrestling. So the more promoters are going to push, hey, we can run more shows. We have the people that want to come and see it.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and I just love seeing that. I love seeing it because, you know, the people on, there's nobody I think works harder than those guys and girls on the indie scene, you know, getting their names out there. You know, and when things fail, they continue, they'll change paths, they'll do whatever they take that's necessary to be a success.
Yep. And like I said, I mean, that's where it starts. I've seen, a lot of hard workers out there that continue to push themselves, to better themselves, to look the look, to live the look, um, just traveling day in and day out, making bookings, living out of suitcases. I mean, doing everything they can to succeed. I give 100% of my support to everybody that's out there, um, that wants to get to the big show. But it's work, and it's nice to see the success stories. And that's all we can do as promoters is push our product, push the talent, and hope it does well.
Well, you know, and that's admirable. You know, I have to say, you know, that again makes me proud to be a fan, makes me want to go to see your show personally, you know. And you know, and I'm gonna try to make a time when I can, you know, see tickets or whenever. When is your next show? When do you know that yet?
Right now we're looking at September 14th.
Okay.
The the venue is kind of iffy right now. I have an idea where it's going to be. It's going to be where the Canadian border is, so it's going to be kind of far for you if you do decide to come. But it's going to be our third year putting on the Summer Hardcore Havoc. It's going to be a third year doing it, where the main event is our CMW Hardcore Champion JP O'Reilly.
Oh wow.
Will be defending his belts. I have an opponent in mind. I haven't told him yet. I still got to talk to this opponent for him to see if he's able to and he's available. But he's going to be the main event. I'm starting my tag team division on that show to crown. Well, it'll be that show going into my 6th anniversary show in March to crown our new CMW tag team champions. And then we have a couple of local storylines going on where a couple of them are going for the mid card title and the heavyweight title. I have Lucha Kid, who is my heavyweight champion. He's held it for a while. That's one of the young guys that I'm thinking he's going to be a big star, huge star. He continues to push himself, continues to work. He's got the mentality to do it. I know he'll go places if he continues on this path. I have Wyatt Holiday, who is my ACC mid card guy, who's got the title. He's had it for close to 2 years now. He's going to be putting it on the line against Dylan Nix. I'm sure you know Dylan
Oh,
Nix.
I like Dylan. Dylan's a good guy.
Yeah,
He's another one. Started
yeah,
later in life, but he took in and he learned fast, and bam, here he is
yep,
now on the
yeah.
scene.
So yeah, we got that, and I think it's going to be a good show. Nothing too fancy, but we got the storyline in there. We got the title matches. We got the main event, the start of the tag team to crown the first ever CMW tag team champs tournament starting. So it's going to be good. We've had good
Now,
crowds.
with you being that close to Canada, do you bring a lot of Canadian talent in, or?
Yes, I bring in. Well, I'll name a few. I brought in Wesley Pipes. I brought in Rene Dupree
Yeah.
recently. I brought in Rick Owens, who owns Capital City Wrestling in Fredericton.
Oh wow.
Trying to think. I brought in Marcus Burke, who owns North Pro Wrestling in Moncton area. He's his believe it. I don't know if it's his uncle or his dad, but his dad or uncle was Leo Burke, who wrestled for Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I brought in. I'm looking to bring in some more female talent so I can get that women's division going.
Yeah,
It's kind of
they
hard
have a
up
lot
there.
of nice female talent out there too. They have what do you got? Fisto's out there. She's a
Yep,
legend.
yep.
Um, the lady with the red hair, I forget her name now off the top of my head, but I've seen her wrestle in Winners a few times and then beyond. Um,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of her name.
yeah, she came back, took some time off, then came back again.
Yeah,
And you got some others out there too. And that's the thing. Canada has its own rich wrestling history, which is really nice because you have a
yep,
long lineage out there, not just
yep,
from what Bret Hart and all that did, but you have another whole thriving industry across Canada that is happening. And when you're that close, well, you might as well cross talent up and down. People that have passports can come in, and that gets the international market jumping, and that brings a
yep,
whole nother excitement level to wrestling as well on the indie scene.
yep. No, absolutely. I love bringing them over. I also bring some people from Canada who come over and watch the show. So I mean, it's a best of both worlds. If you can get the Canadian fans, they tend to love their wrestling as well. So it's good.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming on. It has been a great pleasure. I always like to talk to people and wrestlers, promoters. You happen to be both, which is you get the best of both worlds. You've done the in ring work, worked the locker room, but you've also talked to the locker room and say, hey, this is what I want tonight, and this is how I want to do it, and that's cool. To be on both sides. Um, I really do again appreciate it. And I will try to get out there to that show as we get closer. I'm sure there'll be stuff shared, and I believe I
Oh, of
follow the
course.
pages, and I'm gonna post on where can people follow you
Yeah.
and the Crown Pro
So
Wrestling?
on Facebook, Crown of Maine Pro Wrestling on Facebook. We also have a Twitter and Instagram account under the same name. We also have a YouTube page, Crown of Maine, where you can watch matches from prior events that we've had, promos, quick clips, everything that you want to see about what kind of matches we put on. Um, so yeah, you can check out that. Again, we social media is our best friend, and that's where we put out a lot of our things.
Now, do you have a Jacques
So
Louis Francois page too, a personal
yes,
wrestling?
on Facebook, if you type in facebook.com/crazy Jacques, it'll pop up Jacques-Louis Francais. And I pretty much I'm on it daily, so I'm keeping tabs on it. I post my promos, my video, my matches, anything Crown of Maine related that we put on. So if you're interested, like the page, comments. Just if you're a fan, it's what it's all about. Just supporting indie wrestling out there.
I love it, and that's where, like I said, I find my real passion nowadays. I mean, granted, I still watch some TV wrestling here and there, but the excitement for me is in those small little venues with those people just pouring their hearts and souls into their matches
Yep.
because they want to appease the fans, not because they're making millions of dollars, not because it's a huge payday, because they're gonna get fans to cheer, and to me, that's what it's all about. It really is. Thank you
Yep.
again so much for coming on, and everybody at home, thank you for watching, and as always, support indie wrestling. Versace Stoner out.